and welcome to Escaping Kasterborous, the podcast where we rewatch, reminisce, and review everything Doctor Who from 2005 to present. My name is Rich, and I'm joined by someone who would very much like to be squirted by David Tennant's water pistol. It's Amy.
Yes, she would.
This was the first time in a while that I've sat here and gone, I need to come up with something to say about Amy about this episode. What could I do? Turns me to stone, maybe?
Oh.
Get it?
Don't like that.
Yeah? Dick jokes to kick things off today. Hi, Mum. How's it going?
Does your mum listen to this?
I sincerely doubt it. I'd be
Probably
very
not.
surprised if she did.
But if she does, hi, Joe.
Hi. Speaking of things that are rock hard, let's talk Fires of Pompeii. Because
We were talking about water pistols.
I mean, David Tennant with the water pistol, you're rock hard right now, aren't you?
Not sure for my physiology that's possible, but sure.
I mean, let's just go with that's what ladies do, right? They solidify.
Moving on, please.
Actually, I realised before we move on to actually talking about Doctor Who, we've got to get our usual sort of spring cleaning of let's talk about the thing that's going on outside of Doctor Who or not relevant to the episode first. And that's that Spotify, obviously, in case you don't know, we publish our podcast on Anchor, which is a platform owned by Spotify. I don't know whether it was started by them. I assume it wasn't, and they bought it.
Probably.
I don't know specifically, but the original run of Escaping Kasterborous was on Acast, and this run of Escaping Kasterborous is on Anchor. So, but I got an email the other week, and it said we're changing Anchor. It's now called Spotify for Podcasters. It's like, okay, not as catchy. I know that Anchor hasn't got the word Spotify in it, but okay. And so the app on my phone is now the Spotify app, but it's purple. So it's the same app icon, the circle with the 3 lines in it, but it's purple.
Can confirm Spotify bought Anchor for $340 million.
That's pretty good for the anchors who made Anchor. Yeah, so it's now been rebranded. Anchor is dead. R.I.P. Anchor, rest in peace. So yeah, it's called Spotify for Podcasters now, and it looks really odd on my home screen on my phone, being a purple Spotify icon. I don't like it. It's weird. But it also made me think, hang on a minute. Anchor.fm/Kasterpod, that's where you find... that's like our podcast website, because I've not made a website for the podcast. Don't need it. We've got social media. We've got the Twitter page. We've got my YouTube channel. We've got Anchor.fm/Kasterpod. But it's not called Anchor.fm/Kasterpod anymore.
No.
But if you go in, so I'm going to do it right now. You can hear me tapping away. Anchor.fm/Kasterpod. It redirects you to it still takes you to the same page we had before. It looks slightly different to how it used to look, which is a shame because I liked how the old pages used to look if you've ever been on the Anchor website. So it still has all the episodes, it still has all the links to like wherever you find it. And let's face it, I don't think many people who are listening to this actually have been to the Anchor.fm website specifically. They've just gone and found EK wherever they get their podcasts, be it Spotify, be it Google, be it Apple, be it wherever else this thing gets published. I don't know. Anchor just go, let's just throw it. Sorry, not Anchor. They just throw it wherever they want to go. So Anchor.fm/Kasterpod, while it still redirects to the right page, it's not as catchy anymore. So if you want to go onto the EK quote-unquote website, you have to go to podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/Kasterpod.
Which is just wholly unnecessary.
Spotify, man, come on.
What's the point?
At least, make do your own shortened URL. You know how most big websites have their own link shortener. Do you remember whenever, back in the day in Twitter?
Bit.ly.
Bit.ly, exactly. And I think YouTube, I don't know what YouTube's, is it like youtu.be or something is like
Not
the
a
YouTube
clue.
one. Anyway, most websites have that. It's like, at least make the new pages have a good URL. Like, come on. Anchor.fm/Kasterpod, wicked, it just works.
Nice and easy to remember.
Podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/Kasterpod. It's not as good. Do you know what? It reminds me actually back at What Culture when we first made the Teespring stores, and literally it was teespring.com/store/WWCG. That was the gaming channel's store, and it was like, just click the link in the description or press the button at the end of the video, because like bollocks, you're going to try and type that all out.
So, it's like when you create a business website and you don't have a domain, and it's like this.this/this-WordPress/ and then it's your web address, and you're kind of like, what?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed going through with my website, making sure all the URLs were as like idiot proof as possible. So Spotify, if you're listening, I know you're probably not. We're not exactly a big earner. I mean, we earn nothing on podcast revenues, so they don't care about us.
That's
But if you are
shame.
But if you are listening, can you make these URLs something a little bit more catchy than podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/ I can't even say it.
So you can't even say it. It's useless.
Yeah.
No point.
Spottypod.com/Kasterpod. Spottypod. But speaking of pods, and specifically Kasterpods, let's talk about the fires of Pompeii.
Yes.
Episode DOS of Series 4.
Second episode to headbang good tunes.
Oh, yeah. The third episode, actually, to have that title
episode.
sequence. Yeah. Amy was there headbanging as the title sequence came in, as you're supposed to. It's the best version of the theme song. Aired back on the 12th of April, 2008.
Oh, we're almost caught up.
I know, written by James Moran, etc., etc., etc. So, right, to kick things off, this is an episode that I didn't really remember much of the specifics of. It's one of those ones that just completely left me. You know the story beats of goes to Pompeii, Donna wants to save people, bitch is made of rock.
Yeah.
Explodey boom.
Yeah.
The Doctor saves Peter Capaldi and off they go. The rest of it, the nuances of it, completely clueless.
Not a clue. Yeah. I mean, when we were sat watching it, I was kind of like, what's that for? Who's that? What's the big rock goblin? Like, I was kind of like...
Rock goblin.
I don't...
You said Gollum correctly during our watch through, and now it's a goblin.
I mean... What did I say? Stone Golem, is that what I said?
Yeah. You're thinking of Minecraft.
He's a rock goblin.
Rock goblin.
And I was kind of like, what the bloody hell are they? Are they like the god things, or are they actual like alien things? And then I was like, why is she stone? Why is she lying to the people? Does she know the prophecy? Does she know they're all going to die? And I was just like, what are the plates for? Like, what kind of energy are they trying to convert? I just didn't understand it. And I was kind of like, it feels like all of these weird little nuggets that sort of need to be there, but also kind of don't.
It's almost as if they've gone the same route as Partners in Crime, as we discussed last time, about how there just seemed to be so much going on. Like, they threw everything at the wall. And honestly, this was the same kind of thing. I'm looking at this thinking, there's a... Like, yeah, as you say, you've got, obviously, them arriving in Pompeii, the standard spiel about we can't save them, it's a fixed point in time. And then it's like, Peter Capaldi, Caecilius buys the TARDIS. You've got the soothsayers. You've got the stone bitch with the soothsayers. You've got the
good old
vents.
Karen Gillan, by the way.
Yeah, you've got the people who can see the future. You've got the soothsayers. You've got old matey Bellend. I can't think of what he's called. The dude who looks like he's constantly scrunching his face and squeezing out a poo.
What was his name?
Lucius.
No, was it Lucidius? Something like that.
No, it's Lucius. I've got the name up here. Lucius, Mr. Pompeii
Mr.
Malfoy.
Malfoy.
Yeah.
I think.
And then
you've
got the circuit boards. You've got the the rock goblins. Rock goblins. Yeah, they're in the heating, the plumbing.
The heating.
And it's all. I mean, it is. It's what
it is heating. It is central
heating. But that's
heating.
what it's all there for. And it's like there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I mean, the energy plates, they're a little bit useless to the plot, and
yeah,
I mean, I get that they're supposed to be kind of the catalyst for the Doctor going and finding out more about Lucius and his soothsaying and his rock arm and stuff like that. Who would win in an arm wrestle, by the way.
I mean, the Doctor, because Matey couldn't move his arm.
That's true.
Poor bloke can't beat his meat anymore. That might
what
be
if he's
stone as
left-handed?
well.
He might be left-handed.
He might have a stone cock.
He might do. But I feel like, other than him going to good old Matey Boy's house to sort of be like, what are the plates for? They're kind of useless because they're just in the escape pod, and it's kind of like converting the energy that we're sucking out of the volcano to make sure that we spill our seed across the entire world.
Well, you see, that's not what it was. It was, so to put it into perspective for those of you listening, when we were watching this and it was getting to the point where they were about to head to the mountain, and it was like trying to work out exactly what the plan was, like why Pompeii erupted. And I said to Amy, because I said I couldn't remember exactly what happened. I knew the beats, but not the nuances. And it was like, what if it's because it's obviously they're pollinating, for lack of a better word, through dust. What if they're using the eruption of Pompeii to spread their seed, as it were, across Italy, or as far? I mean, I don't know the specifics as to just how much of the ash and stuff actually spread from Vesuvius. It had been a bloody lot. I mean,
it was.
Iceland farted out a little thing and it completely screwed air travel for God knows how long. So imagine what Pompeii must have been like. So that was my theory, because I couldn't remember. I thought, oh, okay, the pyrovals are going to use this as an energy converter, convert their lava bollocks into kinetic energy, nuke Vesuvius, and spread their seed. That was my theory as to how it was going to go. But as Amy said, it's like, let's get some cool ass circuit boards and convert the lava into something to make the pyrovals fuse with humans. And it's like, but that's what they're already doing.
And that was what confused me.
All of the soothsayers were infected, and old rock bitch was halfway there. It's like, okay. It all kind of started to unravel. Like, it was a really interesting idea, and I've always liked how Doctor Who takes significant events like, say, Mount Vesuvius erupting, the coronation during Idiot's Lantern, the moon landing in is it called Day of the Moon in series 6? You know, the silence, and they say, you should kill us all on sight. And because everybody's watching the moon landing, that's what triggers it. Spoilers.
Of course.
I love it when Doctor Who latches onto things like that, which begs a question I'll ask you later.
Okay.
But
don't forget.
I'll try my best. Remind me.
We always say we'll go back to it.
Remind me.
Okay. Question.
And, but this didn't feel so intertwined. Well, it does, because obviously it turns out the Doctor is the person that erupts Vesuvius, because obviously it's either the entire world dies due to big, marble circuit boards, or I blow up Vesuvius and 20,000 people die. So it's like, oh, okay. So it still kind of plays up to it, but it flips it on its head. Fair enough that you expect it to be the aliens doing to kill everyone and spread their seed, but in reality it's not. But because of that, it almost doesn't feel quite right. It's a bit, I don't know. Maybe it's because of it being so overstuffed that it
I feel like you could have
apart
taken out a lot of the chuff and just kind of been left with the soothsayer plot, because you didn't need all that creating marble and that second, C plot, if it were, to kind of put into perspective. I mean, I get it that it's the whole, like you said, the choice between either the world dies or Pompeii dies, and it's putting that choice back in the Doctor's hands. But I feel like there definitely could have been a way to do that without, even if you take out the energy converter plates and literally just say the monsters are absorbing the energy from the volcano, so we either blow them up and blow up Pompeii, or they destroy the world. You didn't need the energy converter plates to put that into a format that the audience would understand.
It's almost like they could have taken the whole, because the idea of the soothsayers being able to see forward in time, but the pyrovals were blocking their vision of Pompeii erupting. But they could have left that in, taken out the circuit boards, and just made it so the Doctor they were using the fixed point of Vesuvius erupting to, as I've said, like latch onto it and use that as a means of spreading their seed.
Yeah.
Take out the Lucius plot because you could, as Amy said, you could arguably take or leave that and then build it from there. And then because it almost doesn't feel like there's masses of downtime in the episode. There's no chance to really, like, you get to know the characters that the family Caecilius, for lack of a better word, like, but even when you have that moment of expected downtime between the daughter and Donna, it immediately jumps back to, okay, there's another prophecy, quote unquote, and it all just kicks off again. So it is quite a constant rolling of narrative.
I mean, I did think it was okay in its pacing.
Oh yeah, it's not that you didn't get a chance to breathe, but
no, but still,
it did feel like that you could have taken a moment to breathe or given the audience a chance to breathe.
Fun fact, so while you were talking, I was trying to find out how far the devastation of Vesuvius travelled.
Okay.
However, doesn't really have an express distance that it covered because obviously it was so far.
It was 79 AD.
Yeah.
So.
But apparently it spewed a deadly cloud of superheated tephra and gases to a height of 21 miles, or 33 kilometres if you use kilometres, at 1.5 million tonnes per second.
Ooh.
With the thermal energy of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
That's a spicy boy.
That is a big explosion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can imagine the fact that it says it destroyed several towns and minor settlements. Probably a little bit more than that. But yeah,
Crikey.
so it doesn't give you a distance, but it gives you a height and I think thermal energy.
Yeah, there was quite a few flights were grounded back in AD 79. But I mean, there's obviously a lot of story to get through, and obviously we've got all of the nods to what is to come. That whole scene with Lucius and Evelina, I'd completely forgotten about that back and forth of like reading into the Doctor and Donna's identities.
I quite enjoyed that.
I'd completely forgotten about that. Me too. It just fully legitimizes for the audience that what we're hearing from the soothsayers and from Lucius isn't just the standard
rubbish,
superstitious rubbish and tarot cards and all sorts of bollocks that some people
all
believe.
Sorts of psychic reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Just newsflash: if anybody is going to go to a psychic, it's just psychology, and they're scamming you for money.
They're giving you very suggestible, like jumping on
suggestions.
Points. Yeah, exactly. The power of suggestion. So don't waste.
But anyway,
like that whole scene was really, really good. I'd completely forgotten about it, and yeah, so it legitimizes their place in the narrative.
Abilities.
And I'm happy that there was actually an extraterrestrial reason for why they could see, because I don't think it's always the best if they genuinely lean into the sort of paranormal. Like, I like how when weird stuff happens in Doctor Who, there is an explanation behind it. It wasn't just that these people can actually see into the future.
The only thing that I question was his explanation, because doesn't he say, like, the explosion created a crack in time, which meant you could see, but I'm kind of like, yeah, but what, because they could see before the explosion, so how does that work?
No, as in when there was the earthquake 17 years beforehand.
Oh.
So the Doctor, when the Doctor and Caecilius were speaking, they were saying that before the earthquake, the soothsayers were just spitting out nonsense. Yeah. And he said yes. And he said after the earthquake, they were all correct. And he said yes. So it's like, that was when the pyrovals, as I think the Doctor explained,
landed,
infected their heads and opened their minds to basically use the power of suggestion in a legitimate way. Oh yeah, because
he says, doesn't he, when he's holding the water pistol, he says, so 17 years ago you landed? And they go, no, we've been waiting. He goes, oh, so you woke up 17
years ago after an earthquake.
Right. So the earthquake opened a rift in time. Is that what that was?
I would. Yeah, assumedly, it's still a bit wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, as it were. So there are definitely holes in the story, and kind of how it does kind of overload itself in some regards.
That crack in time is like a very early latch-on point that Stephen Moffat used for his whole crack in time thing.
I would doubt
that's
it.
something completely different.
Because it's no different from the Rift in Cardiff, really.
No, that's true.
So I would assume that maybe they could have lent into saying like, oh, it's like another rift, because why not another rift? But after Pompeii went nuclear, it gets destroyed and the rift is closed, like fully closed, unlike Cardiff, where bits and pieces seep through from time to time. Maybe that's the angle they could have gone. It's easy to say that kind of stuff in retrospective, obviously.
Yeah.
But even in this episode, James Moran.
Oh, so
it's not Russell. No. But in this episode, we also got the nods to Rose, as in like she says like she will come back or something, and
what does it? She says like it is returning or
she is returning or something.
Yeah, something along those lines.
And it's like, well, that's obviously Rose, and then we have the first instance of "There's something on your back" to Donna, which we'll get to towards the end of the series. So you've got like, so even after all the stuff that's been brought up, you had the Pyrovilia is gone, is missing, it was taken, etc. There's another one. So it's like you've had all of these things that have been, all of these recurring motifs that keep coming. And even after watching the Partners in Crime, I hadn't even thought about "There's something on your back." It's like, oh god, there's another one. Good God, there's so much. Don't mention that. So much going on.
That's the one bit they don't mention in Partners in Crime, isn't it?
Yeah, because obviously it starts to get a lot more explicit of something on your back, and then eventually we get to turn left and it's explained. So it's like, yeah, there's so much going on. You don't really realise genuinely. I mean, obviously, as we discussed last time, we won't go into it all again. When you're watching it for the first time, you might not think about it. It's just it's a missing thing. Maybe someone might have linked the fact that the Adipose 3 was lost, and now Pyrovilia is lost. Surely there's something going there.
But I don't even think I clocked that as a kid.
I probably didn't either.
Like, the whole sequence of that back and forth, I probably just focused on the fact that, oh, look, they've got that right about the Doctor and Donna.
Yeah.
And then when
Dr.
he goes,
Gallifrey,
there's something on your back.
London.
I think that's probably the only bit I would have latched onto, is there's something on your back, but that's because they make it so obvious.
Yeah, they really put it in the spotlight.
Good old scrunchy face is there, like, there's something on your back. If any of you could have seen my face there.
I feel like I know him from something else as well.
Probably.
I'm trying to work it out.
He's a very...
Oh, I know who he is.
Is he Peter Pettigrew's offspring?
He is a bit, isn't he?
Bit.
He is not related to
Timothy Spall.
Timothy Spall, that's it.
Who, by the way, can we just say, a man like Timothy Spall managed to produce a son. Like, is his name Rafe?
Rafe Spall.
Rafe Spall. Rafe is fit. How? I mean... Sorry, my microphone peaked there because I was going to say,
the simping continues to people not even appearing in Doctor Who. No, I've just looked at his Wikipedia page and I'm like, I know I've seen him in something else. And I couldn't think of what it was. And then it's, you see the name of a show and it hits you. He's the taxi driver in A Study in Pink in Sherlock, the first episode. You know, the one who gives you a pill?
No.
When was the last... Do you remember Sherlock that well?
I have watched Sherlock, the series, through once. And it was when you lent it to me in our first year of university, which was 10 years ago now. So I have quite literally no memory of Sherlock. The only scene I remember from Sherlock is him and Moriarty stood by a pool.
That's the end of season 1?
That's all I remember.
Yes.
That's literally the only bit of Sherlock I remember.
Do you know what? I've actually been thinking about Sherlock a lot recently as to whether it's like I want to watch it again, but probably only the first 2 seasons because it gets really bad.
It's real heavy as well, though, isn't it?
Well, they're feature length each episode. There's only 3 episodes in a series, so
and that's what stresses me out about it a lot of the time is the fact that it's kind of like. Ugh. At least with Doctor Who, it's 45 minutes and it's just good.
Lucius, so Lucius also plays the taxi driver in A Study in Pink.
Okay.
which is obviously if you haven't watched Sherlock, go watch Sherlock. It's Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss.
It's bloody brilliant.
The first like 2 series is like god tier television. It's absolutely brilliant, and then it gets it gets a bit wank, and series 4 was the most recent, and that was like 2014, 15. I want to say
it gets very Stephen Moffat.
2017.
Was it that late?
Yeah, I mean that's still nearly 6 years ago. No, that literally was. It was over 6 years ago. The final problem aired on the 15th of January 2017.
Bloody hell.
6 years ago.
What was I saying? Yeah, it gets very Stephen Moffat, and
just a bit.
You can kind of basically, if you've never seen Sherlock, but you've watched Matt Smith as the Doctor, go and watch Sherlock, because they wrote Sherlock first, and you will then understand why Matt Smith's Doctor is I'm so clever, I can sort this out, I'm rambly, I'm this, because basically Matt Smith is Sherlock.
I mean, literally the reason why series 6 and 7 was split in half was because of Sherlock production. And you can, if you watch through series 5 onwards, and you like look at when Sherlock aired and when Doctor Who series 5 onwards aired, and you watch them in the right order, you can see when Sherlock really started to influence how Doctor Who, because like Sherlock's visual storytelling in terms of the Mind Palace and stuff was brilliant.
Oh, phenomenal.
Super good. Like I think it's Hartswood Films as the production company. Astonishing. Like as a media student back when Sherlock was airing, like watching the way they produce things, like as an editor and doing like motion graphics, and then even just down to practically how they shoot the thing. Yeah. Literally, let's bolt a bicycle wheel to the ceiling, stick a camera on it, and spin it round Benedict Cumberbatch's head as he falls over in one of the later series. Astonishing filmmaking, genuinely brilliant, and you can see that visual story, like that visual scene setting being used in Doctor Who from that point. So if you haven't watched Sherlock, or you want to watch it again, while we're doing EK through Matt Smith's era, watch Sherlock in between, when we're like between series and stuff.
We're not going to talk about 6. Sherlock,
no,
but
it's very good in case you haven't seen it. I'm pretty certain it'll be on iPlayer, so go watch that. Anyway, back on the Fires of Pompeii. So we talked about all the little things, all the little nuances, the little motifs that keep recurring. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and I know I'm not talking about her boobs. Catherine Tate, Donna,
and she's
Noble.
also actually quite attractive.
Oh yeah,
and I kind of forgot how attractive Catherine Tate actually is. And then I look at her in Doctor Who. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know she's a lot younger, but she's real pretty. And she's got cracking knockers.
I'm going to send you a picture, because this is Catherine Tate.
That worries me.
Catherine Tate was one of those people that you don't really realise until you realise, if that makes sense. And this would have been years ago, and I don't know how I came across this picture. Social media, I don't know. Maybe it was after this episode and it was like, I'm going to Google Catherine Tate boobs.
The fact that you had the sudden memory to pull this picture up.
There you go. Look at that.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Holy crap sandwiches.
Basically, just so if you want to, Catherine Tate boobs, and it's the first picture that comes up. It's
she's not naked.
No. It's like a red carpet kind of thing. But
she's
just
wearing
like
a black dress, but it's a very, very low cut black dress with just pure whoppage.
Yeah, you don't really. Yeah, as I said, you didn't really clock until you clock, and then you go, oh. Now I can't unsee this. And during this episode, it was like, oh, look, they're inside the volcano now. There's Catherine Tate leaning over a rock. And it's like,
oh, look, what? Boobs.
Oh, that's some boobage.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about Catherine's boobs.
That's a shame.
I would like to. I know, but you think boobs are just... Anyway.
Yeah.
I would quite like to mention how important Donna Noble is in this episode. Not the whole there's something on your back thing.
Yeah.
But for the balance of the episode, because she brings that little bit of humour throughout what is actually quite a heavy hitting episode. I quite like the whole they're speaking Celtic joke like that runs through it.
Yeah.
Because it's just that little like callback energy to the start. That's quite enjoyable. But also, just generally as a companion, I feel like this is the first time we get kind of a more in-depth like look at what Donna's character kind of ends up being instead of her runaway bride character.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite important that they almost sort of categorized isn't the right word, but you know what I mean by that, characterized her in this episode to actually kind of show you how realistically good she is for the Doctor to balance him out a bit, rather than it just being the simpy little companion. I can't say nothing, I get it, but instead of
we
it
can
being
simp, we're on the outside.
Yeah,
we're not the character in the TARDIS wanting
instead
to
of
nod
it
in.
being I'm in love with you, it's wow, you're a bit of a douche nozzle, let's go hang out somewhere, innit? So which I think is quite a fun dynamic and I quite enjoy it.
Oh dear me. So yeah, runaway bride Donna Noble, she's a bitch. She's a bitch. There's nothing more to say on it. She is a bitch. Partners in Crime, she redeems herself so well, but she still has this sort of bossiness, naughtiness of Donna Noble's character. That's still there. So this is the big talking point about Fires of Pompeii, and it's this whole save somebody arc. And really, even amidst the rest of the stuff we've said about like leaving little breadcrumb trails towards something, this is really the beginning of the Time Lord Victorious arc. When the Doctor realizes that the laws of time are his, he can do what the hell he likes. Donna is the catalyst to really make him realize that, for better or worse, arguably for worse. But Zappa fan, otherwise known as Richard on Twitter, has asked regarding the Just Save Someone arc, considering it was only 3 stories back in her timeline that she was being a right cow, as in runaway bride. Was this too rapid a change to become the Donna as she is now? Does it seem rather crowbarred in by the story writers? Now, for me, by the time you get to most people look at this episode and they see, when you look at it as a homogenous piece, you see the fact that the Doctor does indeed go back and save somebody. When you go back and you watch it through from the beginning, the way that Donna is so quick to jump on, we need to save people, oh god, we're in Pompeii and people are going to die tomorrow, that tells you a lot about Donna's character, that she genuinely is a caring person. We know that because of how she is with her granddad. We know that because of how much she respects the Doctor, etc, etc, etc.
But also,
however, I was going to say,
carry on.
The fact that she's so dismissive of the Doctor telling her that they can't just go and save people, while it does come from good intentions, there is still that little sprinkle of, but she's not getting the point. So while I would agree that by the time we get to the end of the episode, as we've said, that Donna starts to point in the right direction for the character she eventually becomes by the end of the series, I wouldn't say that it's a super duper quick, like, turn on its head, turn on a dime, and change Donna's character entirely, because of the fact that she is so arsey about this fact. Even the Doctor's like, it's a fixed point. Any other companion in this point usually goes,
just gone,
okay. Moving on then, let's see what we can do. Donna's not having any of it, which is, peak Donna. So I would argue that they still have this progressive approach to when Donna becomes the Donna we actually like by the end of the series.
But also, as I was kind of thinking halfway through your point, it's not actually a huge departure from her character even in The Runaway Bride, because even in The Runaway Bride, when he drowns the Rachnos, Am I on the right episode? Is that the right episode?
You are. You're bang on.
Okay, good. I have a really bad habit of mixing
I'm going to
episodes
put a gold
up.
star on the fridge for you.
Thank you. Even when he's drowning the Rachnos, she says, Doctor, you can stop now.
Yeah.
And that's like, even though she is a complete arse, she still has that element of, I might be a bitchy little so-and-so, but that doesn't mean I think murdering people's okay, which obviously, you know, we all know it's not. But there's that element to her personality which is in there somewhere, which is you don't have to do these terrible things. Like, you can stop now. And that's her bringing him back down to earth. That is this Time Lord Victorious kind of slipping in there, him being all controlling, her being like, what are you doing? And she is that level-headedness again in that episode. So I think it's just almost like an extension of the better parts of her that we're starting to see a lot more of. Because in Partners in Crime, there's no kind of like big murderous situation, but she does inevitably say to the nanny, whose name I've forgotten.
Oh God!
What is her name?
Oh no, that's left me.
No, I don't know. But anyway, she even tries to save her by pulling her back.
Miss Foster.
Foster. That's
I knew
the
it was
one.
sort of play on something about being
yeah.
a nanny. God damn it!
She tries to pull her into the edge to save her, even though she's done nothing but absolutely ruin the world for.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but the difference,
UK.
I was thinking about that as well, about how even after she goes kersplat at the bottom of the adipose building, Donna doesn't kind of burst into tears and go, "Oh, we're gonna save her." Like, she still kind of just gets past it. Like, I still think that's still very Donna.
Yeah.
So while on Richard's question, I do understand why people might look at Donna's seeming heel turn in this episode to be this much better person. I think maybe when you look at it more granularly,
is it a word?
yeah,
Who knows
I think so.
this now?
It is a bit more progressive than maybe we originally remember. And I'm intrigued to see going forwards how that's going to change. Obviously, next up we're with the Ood, and I think that might be one of those things where the idea of there being a slave race is going to really throw Donna off.
I think it does.
Like, this series 4, I've watched Stolen Earth and Journey's End, the end of this series, like a billion times. It's a Dalek story, of course I have. But like, the rest of this is going to be quite interesting because I'm more intrigued to look back at Donna in a more
analytic.
What's the word? The word has left me. I'm awful at this.
I don't know. What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say we're looking really granularly. Is it?
In depth.
Yeah.
Analytically.
Analytically. Oh gosh.
I literally just said that like 2 minutes
ago. I know,
ago.
but I have this thing where
microscopically
my brain just dies.
Farts.
And I lose words. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah, don't worry. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, I know. I'm intrigued to see how that plays out for Donna. I really do.
And also, just to kind of see if you end up liking her character a bit more, because it's not... Because we have the benefit of hindsight and we know that her character changes in between The Runaway Bride and the rest of the series.
As I've said, it took me a while. It took me longer than most to get round to actually liking Donna. That was, as I've said before, more in a retrospective when I've gone back and watched it again and gone, actually, she's all right. So I do definitely like Donna. Like, I wouldn't say she's the worst companion of New Who. I used to. I don't anymore.
Oh, no. We have a front runner for that.
Oh, we do. So,
cough, Clara, cough.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see where this goes. And there's actually a question on Anchor. I'm going to keep calling it Anchor. God damn it, Spotify.
Anchor.
From Megan, which was, I realised would have been perfect to open with, really. And that's regarding the series arc nods. And she asks, if the series were aired today, would they have the same effect, or is there too much analysis online of each episode? Will RTD2 follow a similar pattern, do you think? Writing for anything, TV, film, whatever, in today with social media, with people being on idiots on YouTube picking apart TV shows, as and when they air.
Cough,
Who does that? Honestly, it's tough to really get stuff by that is gonna be a surprise or trying to get something through under the radar to make people go, oh, of course. It seems to be that nowadays, normally it's a case of planting a seed to give people the expectation of something to happen and then playing up on it and doing it to get that same sense of satisfaction from viewers, because you know that people are going to start theorizing on everything. As I have said a billion times in the past, the timeless child as a phrase was just a cool way to say the Doctor's got no home, no place, no nothing, not a bigger thing. Yeah. Chris Chibnall himself confirmed that the Thasmin stuff came about because people were shipping them. He never had a plan to do that. And I'm like, dude, if you're being swung by social media in any direction, it doesn't mean I think you've got bad integrity. But if you have an idea for where you'd like characters to go, do it. If you genuinely feel in terms of how much it can dick punch people emotionally or like work with them emotionally or whatever, if you feel it's the best way for something to go, you do it. If the fact that he was so easily swung by social media just screams to me, dude had no clue. And I'm not saying that Russell will have known when he signed on in 2005 that he'd stay on till right at the start of 2010 and that'd be it. He wouldn't have known that. And I get that. But something so big, like, say, Thasmin, hypothetically, would be such a weird route to take it down, especially since he didn't actually capitalise on that seed and nothing happened, which was an even bigger waste of time. Bit of a little segue, bit of a sidestep there, but the idea is there. The fact that things will be picked apart, things will be theorised, every single word spoken will be picked apart and observed in like ridiculous detail means that trying to get away with a recurring theme that would be so explicit, tough. Like something, say, like the planets disappearing, kind of subtle, the nods of somebody coming back, she, etc. Obviously, when we get to midnight, it's super apparent. Well, I say that Rose is literally the end of Partners in Crime. What am I talking about? Like, it's very apparent, fair enough. But trying to get something more subtle under the radar is going to be rough. So,
I mean, you've only got to look at Disney films and Pixar films, and literally, as soon as a Pixar film comes out, people are scanning each and every scene of the trailer to be like, oh, look, that's a little image of that thing from that Pixar film.
I wouldn't even say it's Pixar film. It's anything. It's
any
so hard to do something and not be put under the microscope by somebody. So getting a really good series arc through that's going to try and play it under the radar is going to be rough. But I think because obviously it's not as if Russell's been living under a rock for the last however many, for the last 13 years since he left Doctor Who. He's obviously just been going from strength to strength, doing years and years, and It's a Sin and all sorts of other stuff. Like, he is at the top of his game. So I've got no doubt that whatever he chooses to do, it will be done well. And even if people do pick it apart, and I will be one of those people. I'm hoping that I don't find myself looking at a hypothetical series arc, even if he's using everything as red herrings. He could do. Yeah. He could do.
But the other thing is that I hope that if people do start to pick it apart, and if they were to get it right, that he might actually just stick to his guns, which is, like you said, something that Chibnall didn't do. That he might go, actually, this was my plan for the series. Well done, you cracked it.
It's almost like,
rather than being like, oh, they're thinking this, I'm going to swing in that direction.
It's just like subconscious fan service, because films can be criticised for fan service, for being just fan service. I mean, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker had the wankest plot you've ever seen, but it was like fan service to the rafters.
Crimes of Grindelwald is literally the best example of that as well.
Hey, look, let's put Nicholas Flamel in for literally no reason.
Let's put Professor McGonagall in, even though she's literally not alive.
Good God.
Sure,
honestly.
Why not?
Yeah, it's I'm intrigued to see where things go. So, yeah. It's a good question, and yeah, the fact that series arcs haven't always gone that well. I mean, series 11 with Tim Shaw coming back, it's like, oh, what a surprise! Why am I not surprised?
Tim Shaw.
The first villain of the series is going to come back at the end. Like, okay, whatever. Like, yeah, and then obviously Timeless Child and stuff like that. And you know, we've done so many different series arcs over the course of Doctor Who. We're bound to get another one, but whether he takes the more subtle approach and tries to keep things on the DL, we will have to see. But it is a very, very narrow line to tread.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Speaking of things that get called back to across a series, let's talk about the fact that obviously Amy's already mentioned that we've got Karen Gillan, her first Doctor Who appearance as one of the soothsayers and speaking in an English accent. There's David speaking in an English accent, there's Karen speaking in an English accent, and there's also Mr. Peter Capaldi speaking
who is just
in
Scottish.
an English accent as Caecilius. And obviously the elephant in the room regarding that is the fact that obviously Peter Capaldi comes back to play the 12th Doctor. Man is a huge fan of Doctor Who. He always has been. So landing the role finally was massive to him. Capaldi is an astonishing actor. He is the most underrated Doctor in New Who. No questions asked.
I think he was totally overshadowed by Clara's
his stories let him down, but he had those moments that just worked. Hence why they got him to do so many monologues, because that was where he shone. And then the argument he has in the Zygon Invasion, Zygon Inversion with the two versions of Clara.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What?
Not two versions of Clara.
Yeah, there's like the good Clara and the bad Clara.
I thought it was Oswin.
No, there's two Claras as well.
Osgood?
No,
What's her name?
Osgood is Deadsies. There's only one left by that point. Remember,
I thought it was
them,
the two of them.
There were two of them, but one of them got killed by. Oh no, was that before? No, I'm being stupid.
I'm thinking
there was two of them at that point. And then
they have the monologue with him talking to Kate and the two Osgoods, and he's like, which one of you is evil?
It's Clara. It's definitely Clara.
Are you sure? Yes. I'm sure there were the two Osgoods who
there were two Osgoods. One of them gets killed by Missy, but that's at the end of the series.
I'm so confused.
I know. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's definitely an evil Clara. I know that much. Anyway. So Capaldi comes back as the 12th Doctor under the reign of Stephen Moffat, and in case you don't know, the Doctor recognises the face he wears. I think it happens briefly in the first episode, Deep Breath, of Capaldi's era with the dinosaur stomping through Victorian London, and the Return of the Clockwork Man with the Paternoster gang.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't. The one where Jenny and Madame Vastra they quote unquote kiss, and everyone got all up in arms because it was like a lesbian kiss, even though one of them's literally a lizard woman.
No,
you don't.
I can't.
You really don't remember the Capaldi
era, do you?
That. No. Anyway, in that episode, along with the girl who died, which is when Maisie Williams was in Doctor Who, and her character was awful.
I remember that.
Yeah. Capaldi, or the Doctor, recognises the face he wears, and it's at that point in the woman who died, or the girl who died, that he realises why he's wearing this face, because obviously it calls back to the fact that he remembers saving Caecilius in the fires of Pompeii, and that's why he chooses the face, to know that he's the Doctor, he saves people.
Also, I'd just like to make a point that the Doctor was all, it's a fixed point in time, everybody dies, I can't save anyone, oh, woe is me. But he says that they don't have a word for Volcano until tomorrow, and then as soon as he saves Caecilius, he goes, some sort of volcano, and it's like, so Doctor, that whole everybody dies thing then, do you maybe think that was a little bit of a lie? Because clearly you're the reason Pompeii happens, but you're also the reason that they came up with the word volcano.
Bootstrap paradox, baby.
Yeah, literally.
An unintended bootstrap paradox, I guess. So there are a couple of questions regarding Capaldi, of course. Lawrence on Anchor asks, what actor who has already appeared in just one episode of Doctor Who would you like to come back and play the Doctor like Capaldi did?
Oh.
And just kind of jumping on that as well, because most of these are the same. D. Duckworth on Anchor asks, I enjoy the way Moffat was able to give an in-universe explanation to Capaldi playing both the Doctor and Caecilius. Do you think there's something, we could see something similar again?
That's exactly what I said when we were watching it, didn't I? I feel like I don't remember enough one-off actors in Doctor Who to answer this question. So, Richard.
Hi.
How would you answer this question?
Well, I was going to quickly jump in and say Jammer on Twitter asked, do you think they needed to draw attention for 12 being played by the same actor as Caecilius when his era came around, or would they have been better not bringing it up? I think it wouldn't have mattered either way, but it worked really well. Obviously, that wouldn't have been a known quantity back then that Capaldi would play the Doctor. I think he was actually in the running for, it might have been the TV movie in 96, you know. I think it might have even been 2005 as well. He's always been kind of in the running, kind of, sort of, so there's always that option. But yeah, it's I think it's a really nice way of framing like an explanation for Caecilius. Obviously people are like, but he played John Frobisher in Torchwood. Do you remember the government guy who kills his family?
I do.
And it's like, yeah, okay, but the Doctor never saw him, so it doesn't really count. Actors that I would want to come back and play the Doctor, I mean,
don't know.
Idris Elba hasn't appeared in Doctor Who, so that doesn't
Idris
count.
Elba.
I mean,
he'd be sick.
Either the Doctor or Bond, I don't care. Give me Idris Elba.
He's already said that he doesn't want to play Bond. I'm pretty sure I heard that the other day. Well, he's Lucifer though, isn't he?
No, Luther.
Luther, sorry.
You're close.
Who am I thinking of?
You're thinking of oh god, the dude from
Miranda
and the
what's his name?
Tom
Elliot?
Ellis.
No, it's not Elliot.
Tom Ellis.
I knew
Yeah,
it was
that's
L
Lucifer.
Something.
No, he's Luther because he's just in a new.
He is also fit.
He is also fit.
Tom Ellis is beautiful. He was in one episode of Once Upon a Time, and then they recast him, which is I'm really upset about because whenever I rewatch Once Upon a Time, was
he Captain Hook?
No, he was. I think he was Robin Hood for one episode, and then they recast him.
Right.
And it's between. I think it's between series because he gets introduced like right at the end of one of the episodes of one of the series, and then by the time they come back to the character, he's just a completely different person.
I just pretend he's the same.
Tom Ellis, though.
Man, I mean, my main two picks for the Doctor before Shooter Gatwa was cast, admittedly when Shooter Gatwa was cast, I didn't know who he was. I don't watch enough other stuff to know who he was. Amy knows who he was through Sex Education.
I exploded with excitement.
Looking at all the press he's done and stuff, I'm so ready. So ready for Shooty. I'm really, really excited, honestly.
He's going to be great.
Hayley Atwell was always my other choice for playing a female Doctor because Hayley Atwell is brilliant. And it's not just because she's really fit, but she's a really great actress as well.
Don't really know who she is.
But she's Peggy Carter.
Oh, okay. Now I understand.
Yeah, exactly. She's very good. I've seen her in other things as well. She was brilliant. There's an episode of Black Mirror called Be Right Back that she plays opposite Domhnall Gleeson, funnily enough.
Oh.
It's a very, very dark... Obviously, it's Black Mirror. It's very dark.
Well, yeah.
But that was very good. So she was always my other sort of choice. I think the only other person I could really think of off the top of my head, and it was mentioned because we were talking about Ood earlier, is Michael Sheen, who plays House in The Doctor's Wife, the sentient planet. I think it's Michael Sheen, isn't it? I hope it's Michael Sheen.
I don't know.
I know it's not Charlie Sheen. That's a very different. It is Michael Sheen. A lot of people were pegging Michael Sheen as the next Doctor after Jodie as well. I think he would be excellent as the Doctor.
Probably.
So the beauty of that is you wouldn't have to reference the fact that he's been in it before because he was a voice and you can barely tell it's Michael Sheen. Yeah. So I'm trying to think if there's anyone else I could really think of.
Not really. My brain does not work like that.
All I do know is I would love the ability to have another Doctor who is an old man again. Just give me another Capaldi. Screw it. Doctor 16 is Capaldi again. Do it. I'll take that. I remember this face. I'm back as this face again because my stories could have been better. That's why I'm back.
Russell, write good for me. To be fair, maybe they should just... Yeah, well, Russell's writing the 60th, though, isn't he?
Yes.
It's written the 60th, because let's be honest, it's done by now. Maybe he should have just written another big conglomeration of all the Doctors and shown us what it was actually like to write them all properly.
Well, the thing is, we've only seen, like, basically all of the promo we have seen for the 60th has been almost based entirely on location shoots that we've already seen because of people taking pictures. There will be a lot, and I mean a lot, going on behind the scenes, behind closed doors. Hell, they had, the first, the first, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Doctors all appearing in the Power of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Without anyone knowing.
And that's just in a random series.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if they got away with doing that, then who knows what they could have got away with in the 60th. So, yeah.
What was I about to say? Can you believe that we're nearly at the 60th anniversary when we literally were not dating when the 50th anniversary aired?
That's true, yeah.
We were 2 months prior to us starting dating when the 50th episode aired.
I've been sorting
cinema.
through all of my crap, and I found like a load of cinema tickets in like a tin I've got, and most of them I got rid of because they're like, you go to the view and it's all like receipt paper, so they all just fade. And I've still got my Doctor Who 50th ticket for the Odeon.
I probably have somewhere
at the Sky Dome in Coventry. I've still got it.
Because I went with my course mates,
and I went with a few of my friends. My girlfriend at the...
Was she your girlfriend at the time?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, I thought so.
And then a few of my friends from back home came to surprise me.
And I remember we sat at opposite sides of the cinema.
Yeah.
And we met up to discuss it afterwards because we knew each other by that point, but we definitely weren't on the dating radar.
No.
And then, so then 2 months later we started dating, and here we are 9 and a bit years later.
Christ.
And we are getting married in 7 months' time.
Wow.
And it's going to be the 60th anniversary a month after we get married. So
God, we'll be married by the time the 60th comes about.
We will be Mr. and Mrs. I know.
Revolting.
I'll be your wife.
Not married, never married, as the Doctor and Donna would say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Except
God.
Definitely married.
Horrid. Just horrid.
I know, grim.
So, the Fires of Pompeii is a weirdly kind of slightly overstuffed, very fast-paced, but I don't know.
Also kind of nothing.
No, I still quite like Fires of Pompeii.
It's not nothing.
It's not one that is going to go down in the history books as one of the best, because we've got some cracking episodes in series 4 to get through.
Oh, absolutely.
And as I said, I barely remembered any of Fires of Pompeii, but I don't look back at it as a bad episode, even after the fact we've looked at it analytically and gone, maybe they could have done this better, maybe they couldn't have done this, maybe they could have just ignored that. It's not bad. I mean, I made a YouTube video about how Series 1 is the best series of New Who, which is something I still very much stand by. I'm obviously biased because Eccleston's my boy, but loads of people turn around and say that Series 4 for them is the strongest overall series. And,
I can understand that.
I can understand that. There's not really any duds. You've still got, I think, the episodes that fall short in Series 4 are no different in quality, in terms of quality bar, as the episodes that fall short in Series 1. So,
yeah,
I would argue Fires of Pompeii is probably one of the weaker ones, especially when, as said, there are some really good episodes in Series 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put it as a weekend, though. I would put it kind of...
It's the middle. It's a middle. Yeah.
It's a middle ground. It's an easy watch, but it also throws in, like you said, some
it does a lot for character, which I would argue the same as Partners in Crime. It's a very character motivated story.
It's very Boomtown, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a Boomtown style thing where the point of it isn't the threat. The point of it is the characters and the friends we made along the way. That's the thing that's important. So yeah, Fires of Pompeii. Marks out of 10 for you, Ames.
Oh, since when have we marked episodes?
I've not said it in ages. I'm just trying to work out a way to sort of wrap up.
I'd give it a solid 7.
I was gonna say solid 6. Yeah, 6.5 probably.
Yeah.
It's a fun time. You get to see Capaldi, who is excellent. I think the performances across the board, are actually really good. Like I love it. I mean, all the soothsayers are a bit campy in the whole. It's kind of like is it Guillermo del Toro's I mean, you wouldn't know, the Labyrinth, where there's the weird creepy thing with eyes in its palms and it does all that weird stuff.
Oh, I do know what you're on about with that.
No, is it Pan's Labyrinth? It's not Labyrinth, because that's the weird David Bowie movie that our friend at uni made me watch, and I hadn't a bloody clue.
I've seen Pan's Labyrinth, though.
There you go.
Once.
I haven't. I just know there's that weird dude, and it looks like a scrotum with eyes in his hands. So, yeah, they're a bit like campy, but sure.
Campy. I also quite like the over-dramatic Karen Gillan stood in the middle of the pathway and all of a sudden just does that, like, salute the sun circle with her hand
Praise the
going
sun.
up onto her face, yeah. Just like,
and how the eyes are like really weirdly placed, so they just all look a bit droopy. Oh, bless him. So it's all a bit camp. It's all a bit silly. The doctor kills an alien with a water pistol. Love it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he doesn't kill an alien with a water pistol. He threatens an alien with a water pistol. They kill an alien with a bucket of water.
Pick apart my joke.
Get it right. I was gonna say I quite like also, just to tack onto the end, I quite like the fact that all the soothsayers, it's just a bit of face paint, isn't it? Like, bit of white face paint with some black lines around the eyes, and suddenly you've got yourself a cult.
Cool. And then you worship a woman made of rock.
Although they kind of don't, because they worship the original founder of
They worship the gods, and that's their boss.
Yeah,
I suppose. I mean, if your boss is the Thing from Fantastic Four, you do exactly what you're told. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't get that reference.
I know you don't, because you're awful.
Yeah.
Educate yourself, woman.
No, I'm probably okay. Thank you.
That's a shame. And on that bombshell, next time we're talking Planet of the Ood, an episode Amy forgot even existed.
Yeah, I did.
Because we're back with the Ood for arguably one last time as a leading monster, because there's only so many times you can possess an Ood and make him evil.
I was going to say, poor Ood, they really get the bum end of the stick. They're just nice little people. Not people. They're just nice little creatures, and then they just want to help people, and then they keep getting possessed. I mean, what's that about?
Poor things. But we'll talk about that next time. And if you are listening on Spotify, you can click that old Q&A, click or tap probably, that Q&A thing. And I've discovered you can actually leave ratings on Spotify. I came across it, right? I opened somebody else's podcast I was listening to, and it was like, this has got a rating of this out of 5. And I was like, since when could you do that on Spotify? And I discovered if you go on the Escaping Kasterborous page, then you can leave a rating and then you can see it. And I am very, very happy, and I must thank you all so very much with 90 ratings. 90.
Oh, that's good.
We're at 4.9 out of 5.
Right. Who was the one person that brought our average down?
Which one of you bastards gave us a 4 or less?
Who did it?
Arseholes.
How dare you? What I was going to say, I was also going to say, thank you to everybody that follows this podcast, because Rich pointed out to me before we came upstairs to record the podcast, that out of the average kind of 1,000-ish listens that we get across all platforms.
Actually, no, that's one. It's like 1,000 on Spotify, 1,000 on audio, and 1,000 on video.
Across all the 1,000 that we get on Spotify, about 500 odd of you actually follow the podcast. So that means you expressly kind of signed up to see us every God knows however often.
In your ears. Yeah, I mean, as said at the end of last year when we had the old Anchor rewind for the podcast, it was like, you've got a really high percentage of returning viewership. Like now I can finally see more specific stats for that. So thank you all so much. And if you haven't left a rating, leave us a rating, because if
But
you
make
like
sure
it,
it's 5-star, because otherwise I'll haunt you in your dreams.
make sure it's 5 stars and we're going to come find you.
Because that one person who rated us 4 stars or 3 stars or whatever the bloody hell the rating was, I'm going to find you.
Don't worry, we can't actually see who rated what, but we will.
Damn it.
We will find you,
I will find you.
and I will kill you.
And I will message you a sad emoji on Instagram.
Well, that's the duality of this relationship.
Yeah, Rich is going to kill you. I'm just going to message you a sad emoji.
Which one are you going to be? Admittedly, if you get a sad emoji, that's going to eat away at your brain forever. If I kill you,
I'm not angry. I'm
dead.
just disappointed.
Yeah, true. Well, as I said, on that bombshell, next talking about the Ood, old spaghetti-faced weirdos. Amy, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Ames_Elizabeth.
And you can
Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at PickupChangeToe, as well as Instagram at PickupChangeToe. And if
You
you
can
want
also
to,
find the podcast.
all right, take it off me. Go on, where can you find
I will.
the podcast?
I will, because you always do the intro and the outro.
Oh,
I
right.
want to take a crumb. You can find the podcast on
Take
at
a crumb?
Kasterpod. Take a crumb.
Take a crumb.
Yeah, that's what I said.
This is why you're not allowed to do the outro, Amy.
I want to take a crumb.
Take a crumb. Where is it? At Kasterpod on Twitter.
At Kasterpod.
And what's the URL for the website?
Spotify.podcasts.pod
Nah, you've
/show
ruined
/what's/Casterpodians.
Unfortunately, you are wrong. Podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/Casterpod.
You can't even say it right. You're reading it.
Yeah, I know. Oh
How
my god!
impressive would
Right.
it have been?
Okay, so I was on the. I was literally, because I just had to pull up the page again because I accidentally closed it to see what the URL was. It's like on my dashboard, on the podcast dashboard, like the back end for us. They have a button that says share, and it's like, okay, that's cool. I can copy your URL. I wonder if they've copied us a shortened URL, like I said at the top of the podcast. If I paste this web link in that I can share. Spotify anchor-web.app/.link/e/YGJYPPXJCYB. Write that down. You're going to need it to listen to
what?
Planet of the Ood
Where?
in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you all so much for listening. Anchor.fm/Casterpod still works, so just do that. Thank you all.
Just listen on your platform of choice.
Just search Escaping Kasterborous. You throw me off my outro. Go on, you take it. Go on.
Okay.
Have a crumb.
Thanks. I want toast. Thanks. Thanks for listening, everybody. You've all been fantastic. Look, okay, I ain't no YouTuber, all right? My outro is going to be right chaffy. I'm going to turn into a proper Londoner.
Who on earth is this woman?
I don't know. But thank you all for listening so much. We will see you in the next episode. Richard.
Oh no, this is like 3 minutes long. Oh no.
Richard.
I found it.
What?
I was going to say play me off, Johnny, because you've been taking so long to say goodbye. I'm just going to play me off, Johnny. Is he going to work? Is he playing an ad? Oh, not Squarespace.
What? Play me off, Johnny?
You know what play me off, Johnny is.
Oh, play me off, Johnny. Is it that? I can't hear that because my Discord is blocking out background
Is the
noise.
Discord blocking it? Well, the lovely listeners at home can hear me playing you off. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Go have a crumb. See you later.